Good evening, everybody. For those of you who don't know, I'm Trish Brennan. I'm Head of Department of Fine Art and Applied Art in the CCAD, Crawford College of Art and Design. Is the sound okay? Just like to gather your attention down the back. Could you call order down there, please? Hi, everybody. Listen, first of all, I'd just like to thank everybody for coming here tonight. It's wonderful to have such an amazing crowd making out on a really cold night, and it's wonderful that we got to speak to the Glucksman and make sure we weren't clashing, so it's great that people who've come from the Glucksman tonight. The MA exhibition, 17 heads, 14 handles, 10 students, 6 nationalities, 15 languages. It's a mashup. It's an incredible to have such a diverse grouping of students in the grouping of 10 on this Masters. And I think it brought us back today to just thinking about when we were setting up this Masters. There were many months, and dare I say years of discussion about what the studio-based Masters would be. And I think ultimately when we were talking about it, we decided that what people needed was a place and space, and also to make it achievable for people. We sort of set it up as a studio-based Masters, and we really kind of thought, then what do people need to know? And it's a studio-based Masters with its primary concerns in the studio, but then it's kind of mashed into modules that delve into the situations of art practice, institutions and practices, placing your practice, testing the exhibition, planning the exhibition, and there will be a series of interactions in the exhibition. Generally, an MA show is the finale for students. For these students, they still have a month of the course left to undertake. There will a whole series of interventions that will happen over the next month. And for those of you who have the paper sheets in your hand, there's a list at the back of when the interactions are and what they are. There also, on top of that, will be a publication to follow, and the publication will be another launch pad for the students in February. I think approximately mid-February is the launch date. We don't have a set date for that yet. I'm your MC for the evening, and I think before we start, I think the students just wanted to make sure that the thank yous did not go out of the way, didn't get lost in the evening. I think first of all, people wanted to say an incredibly big thank you to somebody who unfortunately can't be here tonight due to illness. Nicholas Summers is, I suppose, 10 to 19 Sullivan's Quay. He's the caretaker of the building, and he's just this incredibly wonderfully warm man who just kind of looks after us all here. The staff on the MA, Colin Crotty, Alvin Ivreen, Lucy Darlene, Jessie Jones, with input from Sarah Foster, James Hayes, and many other valued colleagues. In no particular order, and these thank yous are to Colin O'Connor, BK Bar in Glanmire, the staff and management of Brian Supervalue in Glanmire, Robin Delane and Mr. Liam Ryan, Anthony Coughlin of CNS Construction Services, Brian Russell of Ace Cabs Douglas Street, Broderick's Pharmacy 84 Barrack Street. Huge thank you to Bernard Bhattacharya for his support to the group throughout the whole year, and finally the Ryan Bar for the keg of beer. And I wanted to get out of the way before. I just wanted to list the names of the artists who are exhibiting here tonight. They are Maxim Barr, Laura Jordan Bhattacharya, Sarah Jane Booth, Vena Naskręcka, Eleanor Phillips, Brian McDowell, Cliodhna Riordan, Jennifer Redmond, Ali Raza, and Mieke Vanmechelen. Thank you very much. For this evening, we're really honoured to have just a few guest speakers who are all going to keep it quite short. And Maud Cotter, esteemed artist who lives in Cork City, has done an intervention with the students here as adjunct faculty on a project with Pluck Projects. And I'm going to hand you over to Maud, and she's going to hand you over to Pluck, and then I'm going to introduce Peter to you.
Hi there. I just want to say what an incredible pleasure it is to revisit these studios, having spent some time with the students during the year. I found it very profound and engaging, and it made me remember why I love artists. Artists aren't afraid to take risks, they expose themselves to all sorts of developmental terrors during the year, and the result is, of course, that they produce some of the exhilarating work we see here this evening. And it has been wonderful to share those kind of processes of the highs and lows of creation. It's a very unique year. It's an extraordinary opportunity for anybody to spend a year sort of scraping their psychic clean and just beginning again. Which is why it gives me great pleasure to be involved with these students on a project called Around Zero, which really is about opening a space which examines the context of visual art practice, and particularly now within the post-recession context and a somewhat depressed economic climate for visual artists in Ireland. All I can say is that the artists here this evening stepped forward with force and tenacity, and I admire them and I salute them on this very, very special evening. They have also been involved in engagements with Pluck Projects, curators of the Irish avant-garde, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce Rachel Warner, who is half of that dynamic duo.
Hi, thanks. I won't speak for very long because obviously we have other people to hear from, but Sarah and I, when we first came in the summer, were really impressed by the energy and the engagement that the students showed, and we've continued to be impressed as we've kind of worked with them up until this point. And the people we're working with in the Crawford have really been professional and really interested in the project, and we're really happy to have been given the opportunity to work with them. The CCAD have been incredibly generous in letting us do so, and it really has given us something invaluable in our kind of developing practice. So we just wanted to offer sincere congratulations on this show. It's really fantastic, and I think that's enough. I'll pass over now to...
Thank you very much. And I think what she thanks us for being generous, it's just so fantastic for us to have new initiatives like Pluck Projects in Cork, so thank you. And without further ado, it's the time to hand over to our wonderfully esteemed colleague, Peter Murray, Director of the Crawford Gallery in Cork. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you. I'm not going to use a microphone if that's okay. I really dislike them because they create this terrible, terrible noise. It's like, I don't know, a sort of pub quiz or something like that. I'd far sooner talk to you and those who can hear me directly, and those in the background might just take, you can't hear me. You can't hear me. Get the people at the back to stay a little bit quiet then, and then we'll be able to hear it. Because I'd like to talk about the art that's on exhibition here today. And those of you who've assembled this evening to look at the art and to meet the artists will, I think, understand that looking at art and encountering art is something that is best done without too much technology in between. What you have here tonight is art that has been made with a sense of purpose and with a sense of meaning, and it's also been made with a great sensitivity to materials. That's one of the great characteristics that connects all of the artists here tonight, is a respect for materials and a respect also for meaning and a respect for the craft and also the tradition of fine art. This MA has clearly been a success. Tonight is a testament to that success. It's also a success for the Crawford College of Art in introducing such an innovative concept as an MA that is not based upon academic principles but is based upon the practice of art, because that's what art is about. And there's very often a danger that art can become too academic. And in this instance, I think that everybody can see that the art has not become academic. It is art that is engaged. It's art that's engaged with the everyday, with the terror of today's world, with the joys and with the fears and the anxieties of today's world. It's not art that is in any way remote from the world. It's art that is engaged, and it's art that is a testament to the individual imaginations and creativities of the artist. There is an overwhelming feeling, perhaps, in looking around it, of a sense of anxiety, but I think that is a sense that is perhaps superficial. I think what you deeply experience in looking at the art is this sense in which the artists have reflected upon life, their life, whether they're young or middle-aged, or whether they're male or female. They're all fantastic. I was here yesterday, I met them all, and I must say I have never encountered a group of artists who showed such a sense of esprit de corps. There was a togetherness, there was a unanimity, there was a feeling of collegiality, which I really think, again, is a testament to the college and to the whole project. Vena Naskręcka, born in Czeskowa, Poland. We saw Vena's performance a few minutes ago. She's from Poland, and she's clearly working within a métier. We know it from Marina Abramovich. We know it from the era when the countries of Eastern Central Europe were under Soviet domination, when artists had to work with very simple materials, where they often had to speak in metaphors. It's very interesting to see a Polish artist today working in those sorts of metaphors, and you'd have to ask yourself the question, if it's not Soviet domination in a political sense, what is it? And so I think this is art that's actually quite eloquent and well worth looking at. There is a quotation from Vena's website. She said, "In my opinion, good review or any text about particular art event or art period should give clean answers and make one sharp opinion." So I shall try and keep my opinions quick, clean and sharp. Commerce. Her titles are very important to these delicate drawings, which are ambiguous and enigmatic in their subject matter that they might depict. It's half animal, half human, or we're not quite sure. It's organic and it's inorganic mixed. And I think that the art grows from that sense of ambiguity. And the titles of one, Straw Dogs and Paper Tigers, shows a kind of an eloquence also in terms of words, because these are phrases which actually do relate to these concepts. You know, a straw dog is a concept that you might promote in order for it to be knocked down deliberately. And a paper tiger is how Mao Zedong memorably described the United States in 1956. The United States is a paper tiger, he said. I think the Soviets said, yeah, a paper tiger with nuclear weapons as teeth. But anyway, those are phrases that she has used, and the titles of Jennifer's work are important to an interpretation of the work, which is in itself enigmatic and which doesn't reveal itself quickly. I think this is something that is a common thread with a lot of the work here. Mieke Vanmechelen, born in Antwerp, 74, lives and works in the Beira Peninsula, was a painter, now has made a very strong video of a strong man with a sledgehammer, and then of a woman with her head on a stone. You have to stand between the two of them, and when you stand between the two, you understand some of the characteristic, I suppose, of the work, which is a sense of the encountering and reaction to the artwork. Sarah Jane Booth's work here is clearly remarkable, looking at domesticity, looking at the whole way in which the domestic can invest itself with a sense of both of, I suppose, well, the unusual, the surreal, the dreamlike. She's taken very everyday objects and she's made from those objects kind of installations which have an eloquence visually and also in terms of walking around them and encountering them. Laura Jordan Bhattacharya. I met Laura in the lift coming up. She said hello. I'm glad I wasn't in the courthouse. That's where Laura spent a lot of time. She makes portraits of people in the courthouse. And I think actually that's been very successful. But these portraits here tonight are portraits of people who've been killed, often violently and in tragic circumstances, and where those murders have not been solved. So again, this relates to work like Ali Raza here who is a native of Kurdistan. Ali, who is a native of Kurdistan. This is something you see sometimes on the television in a kind of a terrible clip of some United Nations excavation of a mass grave of a terrorist, a genocidal event of 20 years ago or 30 years ago. It doesn't matter if it's Serbia or Kurdistan. These events are too common in a world that is supposed to be in some way, governed by civilized values. But I mean, it's really, I think, a world that increasingly, perhaps, in some areas, it is not. And I think Laura has drawn attention to that, as Ali has too, with this very, very powerful installation here, evoking the mass graves of Kurds who were killed. Brian MacDonald, who came from a background in archaeology, has created also works that have an extraordinary aesthetic quality, but which deal with the subject of death of the body, of disembodiment, of drifting, I suppose, from this world into the next world, if there is a next world. We don't know. The work is not religious in content, but it does chart in a rather clinical way the transition from the living to the next world. The photograph of Rocky Island Cemetery with the catafalque, it's not a cat, it's a burning catafalque. Yes, that's the title of the work. And the beauty of these photographs transcends, in a sense, the morbidity of the subject matter. But then morbidity in art has always been a strong subject matter. You only have to think of, the Dutch 17th century artist Rembrandt's, anatomical studies. Eleanor Phillips has created an extraordinary sense of erasure and fragmentation in those drawings on the wall, directly on the board, that just seem on the point of just disappearing. And I guess with the next painting of those boards, perhaps will disappear, which is a great shame because they're very exquisitely beautiful drawings. And with them she has stories which she has written, which are stories which really are very reminiscent of magic realism, of that book. Is it, who is it? 100 Days of Solitude, is that it? The South American writer? That sort of sense of magic realism. And a slight nightmarish quality too. But beautifully done, and no sense of overt horror about it or anything, but still, on the edge. Cliodhna, from a background in architecture, not archaeology, has explored the strange combination of custard powder and plaster and created works which are very liminal, almost some of them not interpretable as artworks. You'd pass by them and you would not notice some of them. And she's exploring ways in which these materials decay, erode, and become unmaterialized, rematerialized, and it's always a transformative installation. Very quiet, and very, very quiet, just like everybody is here at the moment. And the quieter that you are, the more you appreciate the art that's here, because sometimes there can be too much chatter in the art world and too little looking, because it's in looking and encountering in silence, and in these works which are in nearly every case composed and presented in silence, that you have a sense of the encounter with art, which is that defining concept which underlies everything that we're seeing here tonight. I've not mentioned Maxim bar. I keep saying to Maxim, where can I see your graffiti out in the city? And Maxim, who is from Latvia, has put his tags, his graffiti tags, there in the installation. He's working on canvas, so he's working in a conventional fine art métier, but I think in some ways Maxim is maybe, really happy when he's out in a nomadic way, moving from city to city. This reflects his own life because he was born in Latvia, moved to Rostock in Germany, went back to Latvia, and now is in Ireland. And so this is very much a European exhibition. It's not an exhibition that in any way, you know, is insular. It's outward looking. It looks at the world with all its kind of grim realities, and it looks at also a sense of beauty and a sense of, I hope in this work. So I hope that the artists go on to do great things in the future, and thank you very much for the invitation.
Peter, you managed wonderfully without a microphone. Thank you very, very much for your, really, really engaged. You've obviously spent time, and your ability to remember everybody's details has astounded us. I think Maud mentioned earlier that it's a somewhat depressed time, but I think for everybody who operates out of the building, that this will be remembered as a sort of really halcyon days, that so many artists have the space to be in one building in the centre of the city. And we would really like, on behalf of CIT Crawford College of Art, just to thank you, students, for taking that journey with us. And to thank so many familiar faces that we see around it tonight from across the country who are here with us tonight. I know also that there's plans to take the party on to the Rising Bar, which is on Cornmarket Street. And without further ado, thank you very much. Congratulations.